We are 1 week away from marking 1 year of the Highland Park parade shooting. And with that, we're talking gun control. Our next guest was nearly alone before he left office, a leading Republican voice in the Illinois legislature who voted to ban assault weapons in Illinois. That measure and others are in the courts now. That man, former minority leader in the Illinois House of Representatives, Jim Durkin. He joins us now live on the stream. Mr. Durkin, thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Brad. Glad to be here.
Let's get right to it. You had a real think-worthy op-ed in the Chicago Sun-Times. You, a suburban Republican and a supporter of not only the right to own a gun, but also the right to conceal and carry, are calling for an assault weapons ban. I mean, there's a real dichotomy there. Yes on ownership, yes on concealed carry rights, no on assault weapons. Explain.
Well, an assault weapon, as I pointed out in my op-ed, particularly an AR-15, that is the weapon of choice that we have seen in these mass shootings throughout the United States over the last 5 years. It is easily found in the free market in retail. It's a gun that was manufactured specifically for the battlefield. I have shot that gun, an AK-47 and AR-15, and I will tell you this, they have no place in commerce. If someone wants to, that is a gun that is used strictly for killing. It is not used for target practice. It's not used for hunting. And let me just say this, the person who manufactured the AR-15, his family said, this man died years ago, that he intended this weapon only to be used on the battlefield. And he would be disgusted, he would be sickened by what has happened with the weapon that he has created. So I take the position that the problem that we have with these mass slaughters with these assault weapons, it's twofold. It's the person pulling the trigger, and it's also the gun. That is why I spoke strongly on the floor of the House of Representatives in support of this measure, which is now tied up in the courts. But I just don't know how anybody could forget what happened in Highland Park, because we're coming up to 1 year. And it seems that a lot of people did, but we have to draw a line at some point. These weapons have no place in society. I've cited a number of Republicans who said that likewise, who feel the same way. But the NRA continues to fight this and say that it's not the gun, it's the person behind the gun. And I disagree, and I'm sick and tired of hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, you are saying it is a combination of both. You just finished up your second stint. We're going to hit on that question again as minority leader in the Illinois legislature. Before you left the House, you were one of the only Republicans voting in favor of the assault weapon ban.
That's correct.
Why now? Mass shootings have been the norm for years now. Was it because you were exiting politics? Was it because you were so affected by Highland Park? Why now?
I was affected by Highland Park, and that's why I wrote it. I don't want people to forget. I don't want Republicans to forget. I don't want independent voters to forget about what happened last 4th of July. But I want people to know that there are Republicans out there, myself and a few others, who believe that this is the right thing to do. And that we're going to stand up for families, we're going to stand up for kids, we're going to stand up for safe neighborhoods. As I wrote in my op-ed, at some point, are we going to have to suit up our kids in Kevlar if they're going to go out and play in the park or the front stoop or even go to a 4th of July or a holiday parade? That is what it's coming to. But the fact is, this is an issue which is obviously wildly popular by people, if you poll people in the state of Illinois. But the great mass of people, particularly independent voters, are watching this. And this is what they want. They want some type of action instead of the typical, well, it's the person, we have to put money towards mental health. Sure, we can do that, but the fact is you got to stop these guns from coming into commerce. This guy in Highland Park legally purchased the AR-15 and also those magazines that were 30-round magazines that went into that were attached to the AR-15. If this law was in place last year, he would have not been able to purchase that gun nor the ammunition. Simple as that.
Whether you're Republican or Democrat, there is a sense of libertarianism amongst many voters. If you're gay, stay out of my bedroom. For some women, it's stay out of my reproductive health. If you're a hardliner on the Second Amendment, it's stay out of my gun closet. The worry is you ban assault weapons, then you ban the next thing, and it's a slippery slope. Does that argument hold water?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't hold water at all. And, it's the constant Second Amendment cry that this is a slippery slope. But the fact is, the Second Amendment and any other amendment is subject to change. It's subject to interpretation. They are not absolute. And the fact is, we're seeing that right now. There was an opinion from the U.S. Supreme Court 2 years ago that a lot of the gun people are saying they're going to point to that this law is unconstitutional. But Justice Kavanaugh said specifically that courts routinely explain that the right was not a right to keep and carry any weapon whatsoever in any manner whatsoever and for whatever purpose. So I don't believe it's absolute. No, the only people that believe that the Second Amendment is pure and absolute are the gun people. But the fact is, every other portion of the Constitution has been subject to interpretation. It's not absolute. And people, whether it's the Fourth or Fifth Amendment, First Amendment, so I don't feel that that is a plausible argument other than the fact that people just want their guns. But the fact is, this is a gun that was manufactured for the military. It should stay on the grounds of the battlefield. It shouldn't be in the streets of Chicago. It shouldn't be in the suburbs. It shouldn't be in gun shops. But the fact is, it is a killing machine. I've seen it. I've shot the weapon. It doesn't belong in commerce.
Yeah, and, I want to talk about that in just a second. And you're bringing up the Constitution. It's important to discuss. It is a living document. That's how the founders and the writers wrote it, to live and to change. And when they wrote it, when they were talking about the Second Amendment, it was muskets. It takes about 30 seconds to load a musket and to get a shot off. It takes seconds then to get 30 rounds out of an AR-15. I was going to say, a lot who argue this have never used an assault weapon. You shot one, did you not? And what was that like, and how did that affect you viscerally?
It scared the heck out of me. And it was light, but the power and how quick it is what scared me. And looking at the bullets that are used in that weapon, they're not what I'm used to. I was a prosecutor at 26 in California. I've seen more gun violence and death, and I've had to handle guns in a courtroom. But the fact is, I shot those weapons, and it scared the heck out of me. And they just don't belong anywhere in our commerce. And the fact is that people are defending this weapon. It's really unfortunate. And that is why I felt very strong about supporting this particular piece of legislation earlier in the year. I believe it will withstand court scrutiny. It already has. The District Court in Chicago and also the Seventh Circuit have rejected the Second Amendment's arguments that this is a violation of that provision of the Constitution. So I believe that this is going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, but as many things do. But this is a time and place where we never thought that Illinois would be subject to these types of shootings. This is something that we saw in Florida, Texas, and the southern states. This happened in Highland Park. I just think that should be the wake-up call of wake-up calls for legislators and for people who are in a position to make a difference, to say that, you know what, we're going to do something about this. Let people complain as much as they want. But the fact is, people are dying. You have kids who were shot. One kid was paralyzed. One young boy was paralyzed. Another one both his parents were killed on the streets of Highland Park, shielding their son from the shooting. The little boy's an orphan right now. How could that not impact you when this vote came up? And it did. It's had an impact on me. And I'm going to continue to support and speak about banning assault weapons. I'm a Republican. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I don't believe that assault weapons have any place within the Second Amendment and the way that our founders created that. And we'll find out soon enough. But the fact is, this is an issue that it's a political issue as well. And when we are trying to win seats in the suburbs and the collar counties, we have to take tough positions, but this is the right position also. People want safety. They want safety, and that's their greatest priority, and that's our priority in the legislature. Our greatest responsibility under the Constitution is to keep our people safe. Just look at it. And we can do that by banning these weapons and at least begin that process. So I I completely, if I was in the same position again right now, I'd vote for it again. I feel very strong about this. I've seen it. I know what type of destruction it does on human beings. And if you, people who are still arguing and saying that this isn't the right thing to do, they should read the reports about the wounds on the people that have died or they've been injured in Highland Park or in Uvalde, in other places where the AR-15 has been used. They will be shocked by the type of wounds that happen. These are not little through and through wounds. These are massive holes that are created in individuals because of the power of that weapon.
Decimates the body. With that point, we'll have to leave you. Former minority leader in the Illinois House of Representatives, still fighting the fight. Jim Durkin, thank you for joining us on the stream. Look forward to having you again soon.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.